Today I'm going to show you a drama, thriller, sci-fi film called Replicas. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Biomedical research scientist Bill Foster works at Bio9, trying to transfer human consciousness to robots. He and his colleague Ed head the project and get a call for a newly deceased soldier that comes in as a donor. They rush the soldier into their laboratory and start the process to transfer his consciousness. By injecting a needle into the eye, Bill maps the human brain and uploads it to the robot. Bill begins the imprinting procedure manually by using a holographic interface. After a successful transfer, the team prepares to awaken the robot. The robot goes online, and Bill asks if he knows what's happening. The robot looks around but starts freaking out, shouting and screaming, asking to know who he is. Bill tries to calm the robot down, but it starts tearing itself apart. Bill is left with no choice but to pull the plug. Bill goes to talk to his boss, Jones, and tells him they're gaining more progress as the robot now, for the first time, speaks. Jones is unimpressed as, according to their time frame, they should be much farther ahead with the project. Jones tells Bill they don't have much time before the higher-ups shut their department down. Bill heads home to his wife Mona and their children Sophie, Matt, and Zoe. The family prepares for a weekend getaway boat trip, and Ed comes in to house sit. Ed and Bill talk about the project's progress, and he tells him about what Jones said earlier. Mona overhears and expresses her concerns about the ethical implications of their experiments. Bill counters that actual scientific progress requires sacrifice. Bill then cites the times Mona had to bring people back to life, but Mona reasons out that her patients don't tear themselves apart. Mona worries that Bill could slowly start to have a distorted view of what it means to be human and to be alive, but Bill assures her everything will be fine. During the ride to the pier, the family runs into a heavy rainstorm. Bill's vision becomes extremely limited, and the family almost collides head-on with a semi-truck. Bill successfully swerves away from the semi only to run into a fallen tree. A branch impales Mona's stomach, and Bill loses control of the car. They run off the road and crash into a river. Bill regains consciousness and sees Mona is dead. He checks on his children and sees they're all underwater. Bill struggles to get his drowned family out of the water and lays them down on the river bank. He weeps, caressing his family's lifeless bodies. While cradling Mona's corpse, Bill gets a revelation and dials Ed. Bill heads to the roadside and waves down a confused Ed. They unload the brain mapping equipment, and Bill leads the way. Ed is terrified to see the Foster family lying dead and immediately understands what Bill intends to do. Ed disagrees and wants to call the police but does it anyway, with little convincing from Bill. They take the family's brains, map them, and store them. The pair heads back into Bio9 and goes to Ed's office, intending to collect cloning equipment. Ed tells Bill that Bio9 can clone animals, but human cloning is banned. Ed warns that the cloning process is not perfected, and previous animal clones have come back defective. Regardless, Bill is still determined to go through with his plan. Ed then agrees to meet Bill at the Foster residence with the cloning pods. Bill is surprised to see that Ed has only brought the company's 3 cloning pods. Bill needs 4 pods, but Ed tells him this is all the company has. Bill is then left with a tough decision to leave one of his children out of the cloning procedure. He places their names in a bowl and picks one name as the child he won't clone. He's incredibly distraught to see it's the youngest Zoe who would stay dead. In the basement, Bill and Ed set up the cloning pods. Ed informs Bill that the cloning process is exceptionally delicate, and the pods must never lose power. Bill then goes to steal every car battery from the neighborhood. The cloning process would take 17 days, and Bill has until then to figure out how to successfully transfer the family's consciousness to the clones. Ed asks what he intends to do about Zoe's situation, and Bill tells him he'll have to delete all of the family's memories of Zoe. The following day, Bill begins work on the brain mapping and deletes all the memories the family had of Zoe. Back at Bio9, Jones informs Ed that if they don't successfully transfer human consciousness into a robot, they'll be forced to shut the project down. Ed calls Bill, telling him that the company will have to liquidize their equipment if they get shut down. This would then reveal that they've stolen the cloning pods. Bill then orders Ed to keep watch over the clones so they can exchange places. Bill heads to Bio9 and immediately gets quizzed by Jones and fellow employees about the project's progress. He then sees a miniature cutout horse Zoe made. He then heads back to his house, where he runs into Matt's teacher, who stopped by to ask where Matt has been for the past several days. The teacher tells Bill that Ed already informed her that Matt has chickenpox. Bill realizes that his family has individual lives and social circles. They'd probably be wondering at this point where the family has been. He then goes through their devices and accesses their social accounts. He makes up excuses for everyone, ranging from being grounded to being sick, Bill continues to work on trying to transfer the family's consciousness, but the simulations keep failing. The 17 days are now up, and he still has no idea how to perfect the process. Ed tells Bill that the clones can't be kept in the pods for too long as they'll continue to age and grow exponentially. If they don't get the clones out now, they could age years within just a few hours. Bill then decides to take the clones out and sedate them for a few days while he tries to fix the imprinting procedure. Ed warns him that he can't find a way to improve the imprinting, then he'll have to kill the clones. Several days pass, and Bill still doesn't have the answer to fixing the imprinting process. He then now has to euthanize the clones. He begins with Mona, and as he's about to inject her, he grabs her hand, and brain activity spikes. Ed arrives, and Bill is ecstatic about his discovery. Bill tells Ed that the imprinting process has been failing as the brain knows that the body they are in is not theirs. That's why, he argues, that the robot tried to destroy itself. The brain knew that it wasn't in its body. To combat this, Bill has to rewrite an algorithm in the system, fooling the brain into thinking that the body they're being uploaded into is their own body. This is how they'll solve the problem of transferring consciousness to the robots. As for the family, Bill theorizes that the process will work flawlessly as he'll be transferring the consciousness into their own bodies. Bill and Ed initiate the transfer on Mona, and everything runs smoothly. They complete the imprint, and Mona starts convulsing. After a while, she stops and wakes up. Bill has to put her to sleep again as he has to clean the house and erase all evidence of the procedure. Ed is out of his mind, babbling and delighted, as they've just fully cloned a human being. Bill cleans up and tries to get everything in the house as close to normal as possible. He erases all evidence that Zoe ever existed and heads to bed. The following morning, he wakes up to the family having breakfast. Bill is pleased to see everyone back alive, and he has breakfast with them. He does, however, notice a few strange behaviors. Matt places too much food on his plate and spills some milk. Mona goes out for a run and feels a strange sensation where the original Mona got impaled with a branch. Ed calls Bill and tells him they have a new donor, and they have to rush to the lab. Bill arrives, and they begin the process. Bill sees that the soldier's brain is too far gone and decides to cancel the imprinting. He tells Ed that his conscience won't allow him to put another person into the machine and make it suffer. Bill then decides to make a copy of his own brain and place that into the robot. He heads to the bathroom, puts on the headgear, and has a needle stab him in the eye to initiate the brain mapping. After the grueling process, Bill meets back with Ed, and they talk about the new plan. Bill says that the process will have a much better chance with his mind as he'll be able to ask the robot. He says he'll start writing the algorithm later that evening. At home, Mona tells Bill that she feels something wrong as she has no recollection of what's happened in the past several days. Bill tells her maybe she's sick and that she should perhaps take a rest. In the basement, Bill begins writing the algorithm to trick the imprinted brain into accepting the robot body. Sophie wakes up from a nightmare, and Bill rushes in to comfort her. Sophie says she had a nightmare where her mother dies, but Bill assures her that it was all a dream. Sophie goes back to sleep, and Bill carries her to the basement to rework her brain. He deletes more subconscious memories of Zoe from Sophie's brain. Mona walks in as he's working and demands to know the truth. With no coercion, Bill confesses the truth. He tells her that they've all died in a car crash, and they are clones. Mona demands Bill takes the equipment off of Sophie, and they head back to the living room. Mona is in shock, realizing she's died and she's a copy. Bill tells her that what matters is she's alive, and he loves her just as much. Their family is here, and Bill says he'll do anything to keep them. At dinner, Sophie asks who Zoe is as she's seen the name written in her closet. Mona also feels something is wrong and tells Bill she remembers a bunk bed in Sophie's bedroom too, but it's not there anymore. Jones gives the family a surprise visit, and he and Bill step out to talk. Jones reveals that he's found out about the clones and tells Bill that the clones need to be eliminated. Bill tries to bargain, offering the algorithm in exchange for the family. He argues this would make Bionic an incredibly successful biomedical company. Jones laughs this off and asks Bill if he still believes Bionic is an actual medical company. He tells him nobody would pay a considerable amount of money just to revive a dead soldier. He reveals that Bionic is, and always has been, a military contractor. The imprinting of consciousness in a robot isn't for revival but for creating a robotized army. The company's primary goal is to place the best soldiers, the best pilots, and the best analytical brains into thousands of robots for war. Jones then offers Bill a chance to say goodbye to his family before they are taken. Bill then retrieves the algorithm, but as he hands it to Jones, he stabs him with sedative, and Jones falls. Bill rushes in and tells the family people from Bionic are after them. Bill places the algorithm copy in the microwave, destroying it. Bill also ends up telling the truth to Mona about Zoe. He tells Mona she can get angry at him for everything, but first, they have to escape. They sneak past the guards and drive away. The guards give chase, able to track them via implants in their spines. Mona gets an idea to disable the trackers, so they head to her clinic. She places the kids on a table and uses a defibrillator to shock them and destroy the implants. The Bianine goons catch up and track them to the building. They go through the rooms, but the trackers disappear one by one, and the family escapes. Bill then plans to escape using the boat at the pier. He goes in to see if the keys are in and leaves the family in the car. Unfortunately, Bianine henchmen arrive and take the family. At Bianine, Mona and Ed are interrogated. Ed tells her that he had no choice but to admit everything to Jones. Bill arrives and tries again to negotiate, but Jones shoots Ed and threatens to shoot Mona. Bill is left with no choice but to give them another copy of the algorithm for the successful brain mapping and imprinting procedure. Little did Jones know, Bill was not only creating the algorithm, but he was also uploading his consciousness to the experimental robot at the lab. By the time Bill finishes the algorithm, the robot comes online. Bill hands the algorithm to Jones, but the robot with Bill's consciousness arrives. A shootout occurs, but the robot disables everyone. Mona and Bill escape with the kids, but before driving away, Bill goes back into Bianine. He sees the robot killing Jones and orders it to stop. Bill approaches Jones, but Jones tells him that Bianine would simply send more men after him and the family. Bill offers a deal. Bianine lets them go free, and he'll give them the knowledge for successful human cloning. Jones agrees. The robot offers to remain with Jones to make more clones and tells Bill to leave and take care of the family. 17 days pass, and the Foster family is enjoying a beautiful day at the beach. Bill joins Mona and the kids, along with a young Zoe, fresh from the cloning pod. In Dubai, Jones meets with a rich older man, paralyzed in a wheelchair. Jones is offered money, and they step into a room where the robot waits to initiate the cloning.